In this episode, I will be talking about capacity and capability management and the trade-off we see between them in an organization. At the heart of capacity management are four key elements: capacity planning, demand management, demand optimization, and reporting and analytics. Let's dive into each of these and look at how they work together to help organizations make better decisions when managing their portfolios. First up is capacity planning. This is where organizations assess how much work they can handle based on their available resources. It's essentially about forecasting. You look at your current and future resource availability, whether that's staff, equipment, budget, and compare it to the workload that's coming down the pipeline. It's like running a restaurant and making sure you have enough chefs and ingredients to meet the reservations for the night. In project management terms, this means ensuring you have the right number of people with the right skills available when your projects need them. Take a tech company as an example. They might have several product launches planned throughout the year, and each one requires input from their software engineers. Through capacity planning, they'll map out the expected workload for each engineer and identify when they might face a shortage. If they find that their resources will be stretched too thin, they can take action early, either by hiring more staff, adjusting timelines, or even delaying some projects to avoid bottlenecks. Now, demand management comes into play when we talk about understanding the demand for your resources. It's not just about what resources you have. It's about knowing what's going to be needed and when. This involves keeping track of current and upcoming projects, as well as their specific resource requirements. If you don't have a clear view of the demand for your resources, you might find yourself constantly reacting to shortages, with teams scrambling to cover all the work. PMI recommends that organizations focus on aligning demand with capacity. This requires continuous monitoring to avoid overcommitting to projects and ensuring your portfolio remains sustainable. Let's consider a healthcare organization rolling out a new patient management system. Demand management here involves tracking when and how many IT specialists will be needed to implement different parts of the system. Without clear demand management, they could end up with too many tasks scheduled at the same time, overwhelming their IT team and delaying the project. By understanding demand, they can stagger tasks and allocate resources more effectively, ensuring smoother project execution. The next piece of the puzzle is demand optimization. While demand management is about understanding what's needed, demand optimization is about prioritizing and adjusting that demand so you can meet it within the constraints of your capacity. It's about making sure you're focusing on the most important projects first and balancing resource use across your portfolio. Sometimes this means saying no to certain projects or delaying them in favor of higher priority initiatives. Optimization is all about making the best possible use of your available resources. For example, a retail company might have multiple initiatives, from launching a new e-commerce platform to improving their logistics. If both projects need the same IT team, demand optimization would involve prioritizing the project that aligns most closely with the company's immediate strategic goals. In this case, the e-commerce platform might take precedence if it's expected to drive more revenue in the short term. The logistics project could be pushed to a later date when more capacity is available. This ensures that the most critical work gets done without overloading the team. Lastly, we have reporting and analytics, which ties everything together. Reporting is essential because it gives leadership real-time insight into capacity and demand across the portfolio. By regularly analyzing data on resource utilization, project performance, and workload distribution, organizations can make informed decisions about when to shift resources, where potential bottlenecks might arise, and how to adjust their plans. Imagine a construction company that's juggling several projects at once. Through reporting and analytics, they might discover that their best project managers are consistently overworked, leading to delays. By reviewing the data, they can reassign some of the less critical projects to other managers and free up the key personnel to focus on high-impact tasks. Without these insights, the company might just keep pushing forward, unaware that they're driving their top talent toward burnout. PMI encourages regular portfolio reviews supported by these reports. By analyzing historical data, organizations can learn from past mistakes. Maybe they underestimated the resources needed for a previous project or misjudged the demand during a busy season. With accurate reporting, they can refine their capacity planning and demand management going forward. To sum it up, capacity management is about far more than just counting heads or keeping an eye on the budget. It's a continuous balancing act between the work that needs to be done and the resources available to do it. Through careful capacity planning, organizations can foresee and mitigate resource shortages. Demand management helps track what's needed while demand optimization ensures that the right projects get the attention they deserve. And finally, reporting and analytics help make sense of all this data, ensuring that decisions are backed by real-time insights and long-term analysis. So, where do you start with capability management? Well, the first step is capability assessment. This is where you take a look at your existing skills and see how they align with the needs of your portfolio. PMI suggests regularly assessing your team's skills and comparing them to the demands of upcoming projects. For example, if you're about to launch a new AI-driven product, do you have enough people skilled in AI technologies? Are they proficient in the specific tools and programming languages required? Without this assessment, you could end up with projects that stall because you don't have the right expertise. A good example might be a construction company that wants to pivot into green building practices. They assess their current team and realize that while they have plenty of experience in traditional construction, they lack the skills needed to incorporate sustainable technologies. By doing this capability assessment early, they can plan ahead, either by training their existing staff or bringing in external consultants to fill the gap. This helps prevent delays and ensures that the project has the right people working on it from the start. Now, after assessing your current capabilities, there will often be gaps. This is where the next step comes in, building new capabilities. It's one thing to recognize where you're lacking, but the real challenge is how to address it. PMI suggests a couple of different methods here, and one way is through upskilling, investing in training your existing team to build the new skills you need. Let's say that same construction company decides to upskill its current staff in sustainable construction practices. They might send their architects and engineers to courses on green design, energy-efficient building materials, and renewable energy systems. This investment pays off because you're not only filling capability gaps, but also helping your team grow, which keeps them engaged and motivated. Another method is to hire externally. Sometimes the skills gap is too large to be filled by upskilling your current team in a reasonable time frame. In that case, you may need to bring in new talent with the specific expertise you're missing. For example, a healthcare company transitioning to a new patient data system might find that none of their current IT staff have experience with the required software. They could hire a specialist or consultant to lead the project ensuring the right skills are on hand from day one. But capability management isn't just about filling gaps. It's also about sustaining your existing capabilities. It's easy to get caught up in developing new skills and forget that maintaining the skills you already have is equally important. Teams can lose proficiency over time if they aren't continually using or refreshing their skills. PMI encourages organizations to set up continuous learning opportunities. This could be through regular training, workshops, or even internal knowledge sharing, where employees with specialized skills mentor others. For example, a tech company that regularly uses a specific coding language might offer refresher courses or host coding challenges to keep their engineers sharp. Sustaining existing capabilities is about ensuring that your team stays competitive and doesn't fall behind as industry standards evolve. Finally, reporting and analytics are critical to capability management. How do you know if your capability building efforts are paying off? How do you track whether your team's skills are improving or if there are still gaps that need addressing? PMI recommends organizations use data and reporting to monitor the effectiveness of their capability strategies. You can track metrics like training completion rates, employee performance improvements after training, or the success rates of projects that require new skills. These insights help you see if your capability building investments are actually leading to better project outcomes. For instance, let's say a retail company implements new e-commerce software and invests in training their staff to use it. By tracking key performance indicators, KPIs, like the time it takes for employees to become proficient, the number of errors reduced post-training, and overall system efficiency, they can see if the training has truly paid off. If the results aren't as expected, they might adjust their training approach or even revisit their hiring strategies to bring in more qualified talent. In addition, regular portfolio reviews help organizations keep a pulse on their capabilities. These reviews give leadership the chance to reassess whether the skills they've built are still aligned with their strategic goals. The market can change quickly, and sometimes the capabilities that were critical a year ago might no longer be relevant. By staying on top of these reviews, companies can adjust their capability building strategies to ensure they remain competitive and adaptable to industry changes. So, let's pull it all together. Capability management, according to PMI, is about more than just having enough people. It's about having the right people with the right skills to deliver on your strategic goals. It starts with assessing what skills you currently have, then building new capabilities to fill any gaps. Alongside that, you need to sustain your existing capabilities to keep your team sharp. And all of this needs to be supported by data, analytics, and regular reviews to ensure your strategy is working and remains aligned with your portfolio's needs. Now, when we talk about capacity and capability, it's easy to think of them as separate issues. Capacity is about how much work you can handle at any given time, how many resources, people, and hours you can dedicate to projects. Capability, on the other hand, is about the quality of work. Do you have the right skills and expertise to actually deliver on those projects? But here's the catch. Managing both at the same time creates an optimization challenge. Organizations often find themselves trying to balance having enough resources while also having the right expertise in place. It's rarely an either-or situation. It's a constant trade-off between quantity and quality. Let's break this down. Imagine an organization that has a huge project pipeline but is stretched thin on resources. They might have enough people in their team, so capacity isn't the issue, But the real problem is that those people might not have the necessary skills to tackle some of the specialized projects that are coming down the pipeline. This creates a situation where you're constantly trying to optimize between getting more people on board or focusing on upskilling the people you already have. PMI's theories address this through balancing resource capacity with capability enhancement. Take resource leveling as an example. PMI suggests that resource leveling helps spread the workload more evenly across your team to avoid burnout. But if you focus only on leveling the workload, just managing capacity without addressing whether your team actually has the right skills, you run into the problem of people being busy but not necessarily productive. In this case, while you've optimized for capacity, you've compromised on capability. So, what's the solution? PMI recommends organizations do capability assessments to evaluate whether the right people with the right skills are assigned to the right tasks. For instance, in a software development company, you might have enough engineers to take on several new projects, but if none of them specialize in the emerging technology you need for a key initiative, you have a capability gap. You might choose to invest in training those engineers to build that skill set. But in doing so, you temporarily reduce capacity, because those individuals will need to step away from active projects to train. This leads us to the trade-off. When you invest in capability, like training or hiring specialized talent, you temporarily reduce capacity. The time or resources you spend building capability takes away from the immediate availability to work on projects. For example, a financial services firm might realize it lacks cybersecurity expertise to manage a new regulatory compliance project. So they either hire outside consultants or train internal teams. Both options affect capacity, either by using resources to hire or by pulling employees out of current projects for training. This trade-off between short-term capacity and long-term capability is a constant balancing act in portfolio management. Now, this optimization problem gets even more complex when you add in project prioritization. Let's say your organization has both capacity and capability issues at the same time. You don't have enough people to cover all your projects, and you also don't have the right skills in place for some of the more critical tasks. How do you decide where to focus your efforts? PMI suggests using prioritization methods, like scoring models and strategic alignment, to decide which projects get the green light. You could prioritize projects that align most closely with your current capability, and delay those that require skills your team doesn't have yet. For instance, a manufacturing company might have a backlog of projects, but after a portfolio review, they prioritize projects focused on operational efficiency because their current team has the expertise for that. They delay more complex projects requiring AI integration until they can train staff or hire the right talent. So, what does this look like in practice? Let's say a healthcare organization is balancing its digital transformation initiatives with day-to-day operational demands. They need to implement new electronic health record systems, but also maintain patient care quality. They don't have enough IT professionals to handle both, and at the same time, the IT team they do have isn't trained in the new system being rolled out. Here, the organization has to make a decision. Do they outsource the technical work and keep their capacity up, but sacrifice internal capability building? Or do they take the time to train their IT team, reducing capacity in the short term, but investing in long-term capability? PMI's theories on portfolio management would recommend doing a cost-benefit analysis to assess the the trade-offs, looking at both immediate needs and long-term strategic goals. If the digital transformation is key to future growth, investing in training might be the better long-term move, even if it means slowing down in the short term. Another key method PMI suggests for managing this balance is demand forecasting. By looking at upcoming project needs and the capabilities required, you can better prepare your teams in advance. If you know that in 6 months you'll be launching a project that requires new skills, you can start building that capability now. So by the time the project kicks off, you've already managed the gap without sacrificing current capacity. This proactive approach can help reduce the pressure of the trade-off, smoothing the process of balancing immediate workload with long-term growth. The bottom line is the trade-off between capacity and capability management isn't something you can completely avoid. It's an inherent challenge in managing a portfolio. But the key is to recognize it and actively manage it rather than being reactive. By using PMI's methods like resource leveling, capability assessments, prioritization, and demand forecasting, you can make more informed decisions about how to balance the two. Sometimes you'll need to sacrifice capacity in the short term to build long-term capability. Other times, you'll have to push forward with limited skills and rely on external support to keep capacity high. It's all about making those decisions strategically. So you're always aligning your resources and skills with your organization's goals.